I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. If you've watched my autumn to-do list, then you will see that one of my goals for autumn is to clear my NetGalley shelf. I am starting autumn with 8 books on my shelf. Some of them have been there for a while and I want to get through them all. So in this video I am aiming to read 3 and get me down to 5. And then I'll feel like I'm making great progress. So I'm armed with my trusty Kindle and I'm going to tell you the books I'm going to be reading and then I'm going to read them. The first book is Doll Parts by Penny Zang. It's a dual timeline book surrounding 2 estranged friends and a college-based scandal. Seems to be some sort of event or something surrounding a group of women at the college who refer to themselves as the Sylvia Club because they're big fans of Sylvia Plath. And that's kind of all I know, although I do also know that one of the friends is dead and the other one is looking into her death, and then the unraveling of the scandal. I'm excited. I kind of would like a little bit of like an academia setting because that will always feel autumnal to me. And I think some of this book takes place in the late 90s, so I'm looking forward to that. The next book I'm going to be reading is called Breathe In, Bleed Out by McAuley. And this, nice and simple, it is a slasher set at a wellness retreat. And that is something I love. I'm very looking forward to this one. And the last book I'm hoping to include in this video is The Good Liar by Denise, Mina, which is about a police forensic person who learns that her evidence and her testimony in this massive trial was incorrect and that an innocent person has been sent to prison and that a guilty person is still free. And I believe this is going to be about her sort of dithering between whether to come out and reveal the truth or whether to keep living that lie and keep her career. I don't read a lot of police perspective crime. I like the crime to be maybe from the perspective of the baddie or just something else. I'm not really into like police procedurals, but this is a doctor, forensic scientist. So I'm hopeful this is gonna be, I'm hopeful I'm gonna like it. I have seen rave reviews for all 3 of these books on social media, so I'm going in pretty excited and I will come back when I have read something and then I'll tell you about it and hopefully I will love it. I'm just back from Pilates. This is the look that I am serving today. My new Saturday ritual is that I go to Pilates, I have a coffee, I read a book. That's what I did today. I finished my book and I saw a parade. I saw the parade twice. I was at the start of the parade. I thought I could kind of like outrun the parade, but they'd closed the street and then they'd closed the sort of street that my bus usually diverts to, and I had no idea where I could get my bus from, so I had extra coffee instead. It was just like a Celebrate Aberdeen parade. It was fun. I cried at the pipers because I'm Scottish and that's what we do. But I had extra time, so I finished reading Doll Parts by Penny Zang and it was okay. It was just okay. This book focuses on, we have dual narrative and we have dual timeline. One character has the current day sections and the other character has the college days sections. We never really get to see them interact except from one person's perspective, which I found interesting. 2 besties are Nikki and Sadie, and they have gone to this very prestigious college for women, and they're very extroverted, both of them. They're theatre kids, and I'm trying to work out how best to describe the plot of this book without spoiling it. I suppose it's easier to describe the book in timeline. Oh, no, I'm just going to go for it, okay? Nikki is dead. We know this much. Current day, Nikki, unfortunately, sadly passed away. Nikki has all of the college era sections, and we get to see her kind of struggling with the work and sort of having some uncomfortable moments with teachers. Not I was going to say students, with teachers at the college. We get to see her meet the man that she's going to end up marrying and having a child with, and we get to see from her perspective her friendship with Sadie. Flash forward like 18 years, Nikki has recently passed away. Sadie is now married to Nikki's husband. Sorry, they're not married. They're together and they're having a baby. The timeline for this is very interesting because it's sort of like less than a year between her actually just ever meeting him and suddenly she's having a baby with her estranged best friend's husband. That is something that is very interesting that will never truly be discussed in this book. I had some questions. Sadie finds some documents, some research in Nikki's office. Nikki has gone on to become this sort of inspirational author, and people are just raving about her work. And Sadie finds sort of like a treasure hunt kind of thing, and it guides her to Nikki's real research, which was into the college. There were some goings on. There were a spell of young women taking their own lives in what was referred to as the Sylvia Plath Club, which is very morbid and actually probably the reason I picked up this book, because as a youngin', I was also mildly obsessed with Sylvia Plath. I can actually tell you the first time I read Sylvia Plath, probably I could Google and I could get the exact date, which is wild. It was the day that I went to see 10 Things I Hate About You at Gala Shields Cinema. My mum and I went to go and see it. And like a lot of other millennials, I saw Kat reading The Bell Jar and was like, oh, I have to read that because then I'll be the cool sister. I was not the cool sister, but I got the book and I became obsessed with it, like so many of us did. So that kind of pulled me into wanting to read this book. I would say that this left me with a lot more questions than answers. I wanted to know more about why this best friend duo completely cut ties. I never saw each other again. Because they never saw each other again, how could Nikki be so certain that Sadie would come to leave her all of these notes? And the big twist, I read the twist and I didn't realize it was a twist because it felt incredibly obvious from the moment a certain character was introduced, that I thought, oh, there we go. It's nice to know who your villain is early on. But I hoped I was going to be wrong. I was really hoping for sort of gorgeous friendship moments, but because you never get any real interaction from the characters together, you never really feel the friendship. You're just being told, oh, she's my bestie. And I'm like, cool, but does she say the same thing at the same time? We just don't know. And I would have liked the mystery not to be so obvious. I feel like I've read this particular twist before a lot or seen it in films. It's very, very common. It's very expected, and I wanted to be wowed. I wanted to have the glorious college atmosphere. It's set in, I can't remember, but a part of the US which is perpetual autumn. But it's like how Gilmore Girls is always autumn. I know it's not, but it feels like it is. So I'm going to say it's set in somewhere like Connecticut or something. There's a deer just outside eating fruit from the orchard, that kind of vibe. And I wanted like a gothic collegey autumnal vibe, and I didn't get it. And I was disappointed by this. I gave it 2 stars, and that's because there were parts of it that I did like, and I didn't want to DNF it because I wanted to know the ending. I guessed the ending, but I wanted to know, I wanted to be wrong. So I gave it 2 stars, and we're not off to the best start, but hopefully the only way is up. Hopefully, in the next book is going to be Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McAuley, and I feel very much in the mood for a slasher at a healing retreat. That sounds, it sounds horrific, but it sounds like a really fun read. I will be back with updates. I've not even started it yet. I have finished book number 2, Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McAuley. This was much more enjoyable. This was much more a sort of book I really wanted to read and feel like my expectations were met. The book starts with an introduction to the main character, Hannah, who is kind of freshly grieving the death of her fiance, Ben. He died under some, we don't really know the circumstances under which he died, but she is just overwhelmed by guilt. And all we know at the beginning is that she and Ben were like hiking in the wilderness, and she tried to pull his body out and drag his corpse to safety, but she just couldn't. And her friend invites her to a remote, brand new retreat in the desert which specializes in healing, and it takes place in this kind of like mining town where there is lore surrounding a group of quite horrible sounding, evil, violent bank robbers who are thought to kind of haunt the area. And this retreat is a little bit, well, for lack of a better phrase, it's a little bit woo-woo in that the guy running it is just pulling bits from all of these different cultures, and ultimately it just seems so fake. They are doing hallucinogenic substances, they are doing sound baths, they are doing all of these activities with the aim of providing some healing. They're also completely remote and cut off from everybody. They don't have their devices, they can't make contact with the outside world. And Hannah's getting a little bit creeped out because the people running the show know a bit too much about her and a bit too much about everybody. And then murder starts to happen. But only we, the reader, know that murder's happening because the characters don't know. They just think, oh, so-and-so's gone off because we had a big argument about something. And I really like that. I really liked that the characters didn't know there were murders. They didn't know that there was danger. There is so much conflict between the friend group. I would be reluctant to even refer to them as a group of friends. I don't think they like each other at all. There's so much drama, so much infighting. And I love that for characters. In a sort of slasher, I don't want to like the characters, which sounds really harsh, but in a book where kind of anybody could be the baddie or be taken out by the baddie, I don't want to really be rooting for somebody unless I know that they are like a final girl situation. I don't mind that all of the characters were awful because it made for such an enjoyable read. The dialogue between the characters was so good, and I guessed who the baddie was. I guessed 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 6 different suspects. and I was wrong. I did not see the twist coming. And when it came, I was just like, oh, you. I had such a fun time with this. It was exactly what I needed, like something a little creepy, something a bit remote, and something that I know it's a slasher and I probably shouldn't describe it this way, but something fun. This was fun. It was very enjoyable and such a quick little read. I also loved that Hannah's mental state was a little bit, well, it was ambiguous to the reader. She was perhaps hallucinating, perhaps over medicating, but we didn't really know, so you couldn't trust her. She was seeing this spirit of the minor, not the minor, of the bank robber, and you as a reader had to try and work out, is she actually seeing him? Are they being haunted? Is this in her head? What on earth is happening? And I really loved that element of uncertainty. I love a book that makes me question what I'm reading. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm so happy to have had a 4-star. I am going to be reading The Good Liar next by Denise. Mina. All I really know about this book, other than the bare bones synopsis that I hopefully said in the introduction, is that this book has made it to the shortlist for the McAuley Scottish Crime Fiction Award, which I should be excited about. However, historically, I disagree entirely with the McAuley Awards. In previous years, I was reading the shortlist for their new prize nominees, and every single time I wanted one to win and it didn't win, but the one that did win was almost always like my least favorite. So I don't know, it's a panel, I think it's a different panel every time, so I don't suppose that really matters, but I'm just a bit worried. I hope I'm gonna like it. I'll report back. I'm gonna get in my own head. I'm gonna read my book, I will come back and I will tell you all about it. I have now finished reading The Good Liar, and in other news, yes, I am wearing a thermal top. I have been saying every year that I'm gonna get thermal tops, and I never do, and then I get sick. So I'm not getting sick this year. I got thermal tops. I'm cozy. So that was just an absolute tangent, just to let you know that I am warm. I finished my book and I didn't like it, which annoys me because I have met this author and she is a delight. She's so nice. And when I was marking this book as read, I gave it 1 star. I realised that I've read 3 books by this author and I've never given more than 2 stars. So I think that I need to just admit to myself that I can like somebody as a person and not enjoy their books. I think that's a thing, and it's something that I find really hard. I find it really hard because I want to like the book, but I didn't. I just found myself bored. I have said I am not the biggest fan of police procedurals, which this wasn't necessarily, because the main character was a forensic scientist rather than she wasn't going out there solving the crimes, she was just providing evidence. But I found all of the characters to be various types of awful. I didn't like anybody, and I wasn't really, well, I was rooting for truth because that was kind of all I could really root for, but I just felt that the characters were really awful, and a lot of people did awful things and then tried to justify themselves, and it was just a lot of rich people problems. And I got absolutely just enraged at the main character when there was a moment where her son did something truly horrific, and she just, well, I suppose that's the whole point, she just acted like the other horrible people in the book. So I suppose she was no better than the rest of them. But I just found myself uninterested in the plot. I also felt it was very jumpy, and I found myself getting a little bit lost between what is now, what is in the past. But I had an advanced e-copy, so that probably wouldn't matter in an up-to-date copy, because there might be a heading or something. But I don't want to dwell too much on a book that I didn't like, because I want people to enjoy things, and other people will like this book, just not me. But I'm ending this having read 3 books from my NetGalley shelf. I have got that shelf down to 5. I feel like a winner. I had a 4-star read, and I feel like I can take that as a huge success. Let me know if you have read any of these books, or if you plan to read any of them. Just because I don't particularly like something, never let me ruin something for you. I am very comfortable that sometimes I like things other people don't, and sometimes other people like things that I don't like, and that's completely, that's just normal. That's life. I have been so busy this week. Work has been chaotic, and I've been super duper busy. So I haven't had the biggest opportunity to go out and do anything fun and autumnal. Do not fear, I will be doing that. I had some walks. The walks are delightful. I'm loving the crispy leaves. I'm taking photos of like every crispy leaf I find on the ground. If people see me, they will wonder. I am hoping that I'm going to get to do more fun autumnal things in my next videos, because I will hopefully be less chaotic at work. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!